Yahoo everyone! Today I'll be going over some more Hunter tips and tricks to help you improve your gameplay. Hunter can be a bit tricky to master, as it's not designed to deal constant damage, but more to deal massive damage intermittently. You might have seen my recent solo S-rank videos on the new purple trigger, and while they could have been better, they were mostly to show that gear isn't everything, and you can compensate for any gear issues with optimized gameplay. This video will mostly be geared towards Hunter Sword, as SEGA decided to make any other weapon irrelevant in terms of damage, it seems. Seriously. I just wish SEGA added overcharges for Spear. I've sent them countless emails threatening them, but they won't listen. Anyway, let's break this trigger down, shall we? For the first boss in rank 1, I found it super effective to use Relentless Cleave with a few overcharged spiral edges here and there. We prioritize Relentless Cleave to avoid releasing uncharged PAs, as Spiral Edge takes more time to charge due to TechArt's customization. There aren't any particular techniques for this one, but if you go with Relentless Cleave, it becomes highly crit dependent. Moving on to Ravid in rank 2, you'll want to break the arm as quickly as possible. I found that using a mix of Spiral Edge and Relentless Cleave works best. Since Spiral Edge was nerfed, both PAs have almost the same DPS, but I prefer Spiral Edge for Ravid as it makes it easier to hit the weak point. Plus, you'll have to rely less on crit rate with Spiral Edge, making it more consistent overall. You should be able to break the arm twice before Ravid enters the enraged phase. For this phase, you'll be hitting the weak point 100% of the time, so it's crucial to get overcharges. A handy tip for hunters is that if you're close to overcharging but can't use Avenger with it, you should avoid getting Avenger and release the overcharge instead. That's because Avenger is a 150% potency boost, while Overcharge is a 200% potency boost. Of course, the best case scenario is to overcharge and then get an Avenger, and most of the time, you can force it by jumping over attacks like so. But it's not always possible, so keep that in mind. Oh, and don't forget to use Hunter Physique, so you can keep your PA charging even if you get hit. For this boss, in terms of positioning, it's at the same time difficult and easy. Here are a few tips. For these attacks, I'm slightly jumping in order to make sure to hit the weak point 100% of the time. When it goes for its ultimate, make sure you move away, overcharge and then position yourself where the head will be. Now, for the more hardcore players out there, I'd recommend deactivating the Auto Avenger skill in your skill tree. I found that this skill only sabotages your DPS, especially if you have bad positioning. After that, playing the class might feel harder, but you'll gradually get a better feel for the PA charge and overcharge timings. One last thing I should mention is that now that Spiral Edge was nerfed, on downs, you can use the Type 3 TechArt's customization for Caliber Streak. It is almost the same DPS as overcharged Spiral Edge, but is much more PP efficient and makes you regain PP in between charges. For the second boss in rank 1, I recommend focusing on breaking the Lades as fast as possible. Right after Valzaga spawns, I overcharge and Photon Blast the Lades at the back because they're more tedious to break. After that, I don't focus on one leg per se, but try to get as much damage on them as possible. I found that the best way to do this is by using Twisting Zapper, as it gives you a lot of mobility. Finally, for Gilzaver in rank 2, the fight is pretty straightforward in terms of PAs, but your positioning is super important. I'd say there are two things you can work on to become a better hunter: positioning and not being trigger happy. Gilzaver is excellent for this, as you can easily jump over attacks and get overcharges. The weak point is on the head, so you'll always want to position yourself right in front of it. This also helps save you a few seconds by preventing Gilzaver from stepping back or forward and turning around. For this kind of attack, you'll want to make sure to jump at a reasonable height before getting the Avenger. If you're using Spiral Edge, be careful not to jump too high, as the last slash of the PA won't hit. Time to talk about the last boss of rank 1. Just like the first boss, you'll want to use a mix of relentless cleaves and overcharged spiral edges. There aren't many specific techniques for this fight, just make sure to hit and break the weak points as much as possible. Breaking all 4 main cores will cause a down, and you should be able to get 2 physical downs on top of that. Moving on to rank 2, Eliminita is the most tedious and RNG dependent of all the bosses. The most efficient method to kill it may vary from person to person, but for me, I always had the best results by focusing on breaking the 4 legs and ignoring the weak points. Some attacks can be very RNG dependent, and the hit detection is sometimes buggy, but overall, the same strategy as before applies. You'll want to get as many overcharges as possible. Your DPS will take a hit during the first phase, but you should be able to compensate for it during the final phase. Just remember to use Hunter Physique during the final phase, and it's perfectly fine to trade HP for overcharges. You can let yourself get hit while preparing for an overcharged Avenger right after. Now, if you're looking to attempt some solo runs, you're probably wondering about the timings. Here are some rough estimates of the times you should aim for. Of course, these timings will depend on your DPS, so keep that in mind. Here's a little summary of everything I went over in the video. I'll first sum up what you should do. You should focus on positioning and not being trigger happy. Use Hunter Physique to keep your PA charging even if you get hit. Deactivate the Auto Avenger skill in your skill tree. Prioritize Overcharge over Avenger if you're close to overcharging but can use Avenger. Use Type 3 Tick Arts customization for Caliber Streak on downs as it's more PP efficient. And now, what you shouldn't do. You shouldn't release uncharged photon arts. Seriously, don't do this, it's really bad and it makes me lose faith. Use Avenger if you're close to overcharging. Avenger every attack and not overcharge. Rely too much on sword parry weapon action or sidestep counters. They do little damage. And that's it. I hope this video helps you better understand how to optimize your Hunter gameplay and squeeze out the full potential of this class. Thank you for watching and don't forget to like the video, subscribe and comment if you need anything. みんなさん、おざかり。